Beta, in relation to the concepts of rebirth and afterlife. Zoibortikism puts forward one last concept, that of death. The very perception of death has no subjective meaning. Although almost every religion respects death, it indeed starts and ends with emptiness, and often from ignorance. Death is still shrouded in a veil of funereal mystery. Death is an inevitable and ineluctable universal event, which only comes to others. As a dead person cannot speak, there is no option to know death better. Yet one must debate death intellectually and metaphorically. While one may think death is the termination of life, others may think it is the beginning of another journey, the afterlife. As no living human ever gets to have a feel of it, all his ideas about death are therefore based on inferences. Man lives towards death, which is certain, and in youth, man always looks forward, while in old age, he always looks back. Yet the certainty of death gives man the direction for his finite life, a limited framework within which he must play his role. As already discussed, Zoibortikism does not support theories of rebirth, reincarnation, or afterlife. So when it pertains to the question of death or cessation of life, it does not gloss over the physical fact of death. It simply says that when one is dead, one is dead. There is no post-mortem of life after death, no afterlife nor any punishment or reward waiting. It takes death as a clinical event, and believes that at death it's all over. In other words, a dead body is a bag of dust only to be offered to dust. The mortal human sings his song and leaves, and that is all there is to it. As in most cases, death is undesirable as it is often abrupt, and yet that's the only certainty. I cannot forget the ancient Greek philosopher Xenophon's words, "Excess of grief for the dead is madness, for it is an injury to the living, and the dead know it not." By saying "dead know it not," he confirmed his belief that death is the termination of life, and nothing transpires beyond that. If anything remains, that's his body of work and his memories for others. If the concept and presence of soul has to be debated, as it is referred elsewhere, then soul is really man's conscience, and this conscience also dies when the brain of the body dies. Zoibortikism believes neither in reincarnation nor in afterlife, nor does it believe that at death the soul or conscience passes into another body. As this philosophy does not believe in the concept of soul, it disputes that it cannot be immortal, timeless, and indestructible. As the world is in a constant flux, nothing is constant in the material world. One who has taken birth is sure to die, and the body is subject to decay and is absorbed in the elements. Thus, at the end, everything meets its destruction. Death, however, surely can become the greatest teacher, not to the dead, but to those still alive. When Socrates said, "An unexamined life isn't worth living," his disciple Aristotle went even further and announced that a purposeless life isn't even worth examining. Man alone is responsible for building a purposeful life. No matter what purpose he pursues, there shall always be limits, and at one point, everything comes to an end, whether completed or not, and that limit is death. As men are temporal beings, the meaning of there is tied up with time. In unison with French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre, who once said that human beings are condemned to be free, Zoibortikism also agrees that humans often find themselves alone and abandoned on earth in the midst of infinite possibilities. As there is no creator or nothing like that, man has no other purpose than the one he sets for himself, no other destiny than the one he works for. Therefore, man is indeed nothing other than the sum of his actions. After adolescence, man lives a life of death consciousness, and therefore man mostly searches for experience more than mere knowledge. Unlike a salmon fish that's raised in a farm for the purpose of consumption, human beings generally have no particular purpose. It is only through their actions that they later define their purpose in life. In life, man commits himself and draws his own portrait, outside of which there is nothing. Yet life goes through a continuous unrest in which balance is frequently lost and recovered. Yet many people remain in denial of their inner potential, and often the oppressed don't know that they are oppressed, as they view the world as the one that cannot change. In the rat race, making a name for himself, finding himself a place under the sun, and for pecuniary profit, man has often left his moral values behind because he has lost sight of his purpose. Quoting philosopher Simone de Beauvoir, "If life is occupied in both perpetuating itself and surpassing itself, if all it does is maintain itself, then living is only not dying." In the midst of scientific and technological progress, lost in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and whatnot, I saw several people have forgotten that with great power comes great responsibility. At this juncture of civilization, moral enhancement of humankind is the need of the hour, as the future lies in wait. The pace of scientific change has been exponential, and the new world created by information technology enthralls man. Beta, still a question often teases my mind. Heine, his moral values kept pace with his intellectual progress? I have observed that the essence of life as a dynamic span of possibilities begins to emerge. And once man realizes this, he begins to live to shape each day, each moment the way he envisions. Intending his own life, a specific shape filled with beauty and style, he cannot neglect the lives of others. And in doing so, he does not merely exist, but is living a life infused with peace. Tomorrow may never come, and life is too short. However, as life throbs, his heartbeats must be in synchrony, pulsating with hope and an esperance that keeps his world, his passion, and his dreams alive. Nevertheless, it's only when life touches life and hope radiates hope that a life is well lived. For only life has the power to give life and weave magic. Inertia is synonymous with death. As Zoibortikism considers death to be the end of man's conscious existence, an unavoidable reality, the fear of death is either a waste of time, and thus living in the present could be the prescribed path. Everyone dies, but not everyone lives. One should plan as if he will live forever, then celebrate life every day as if there is no tomorrow. Fortunately for most people, life is more of a looking forward rather than a countdown. Yet both perspectives are desirable. At some point in life, looking in the rearview mirror, it would be interesting for man to ask himself, how do I feel about what shall be leaving behind? Zoibortikism suggests that man must spend some time in solitude, and this must be a diurnal ritual, where he experiences the beauty of silence and gets to search for the meaning of his own existence. One may not kill the child inside, and unleash that while in solitude. And within a life which is short and finite, a bit of self-indulgence here and there doesn't seem unreasonable. It is suggested that man may flow with the tide to some extent. If only he learned to relax, laugh, and let life happen, he will begin to comprehend the meaning of life in a better way. Birds can fly higher with their wings because they take themselves lightly. Yet whatever man values at the present moment may not seem so pivotal when it is evaluated in the context of an entire life. Love and affection, memories he cherishes in his heart, moments spent with the ones whom he holds dear, and perhaps a sense of pride over some achievements he shall always bear until his last breath. Life, let it flow, let it flow. Few in this world can comprehend the teaching without words, understand the value of non-action. Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching, Chapter 43. Beta, after a long journey of philosophical disquisition, found in mysterious tomes or in the ramblings of enlightened masters, it slowly became self-evident that personal zoibortic experience of any stature is possible for most, and achievable by all. While most adults realize the importance of practicing and achieving this, I notice that there are several others who remain clueless about even where to begin. Zoibortikism can be attained when man lives with a sense of wonder, and this philosophy vouches for the magical experience that comes about when personal experience is in tandem with science. When man responds to his inner calls and seeks answers in science, he is responding to the universe, and this response brings rare insights, due to which he attains profound inner experiences. These experiences, coupled with scientific knowledge, make human beings what they are. Zoibortikism is about being truly human. It's about man's basic goodness. If the cause is ignorance, the remedy is waking up and working with the potentials of the mind and cultivating wisdom. The human mind is a complex maze. It is not at rest, even when the body slumbers. It's ever wondering, ever questioning. If the mind is allowed a free rein, it gallops in 1,000 directions aimlessly. Hence, man needs to rein in and settle his mind. Humans naturally develop compassion for themselves and all living beings who suffer, and their insight prompts them to help spontaneously while experiencing their own world deep within, and this leads to higher enlightenment and greater perfection in every way. Man does this not because it is prescribed in religious books, or because it is moral or just, not just because it is his duty, but because he feels good in doing so. Thus again, this feel-good factor became another pivotal concept of Zoibortikism. Thus, Zoibortikism is not merely a search for meaning in human lives, which shall never end. It is the search for the deeper inner experiences as against an assessment of human beings based on their social status and external veneer. It involves nurturing a genuine, healthy relationship with the self so that one can have genuine relationships with others. To be the kindest, one must be most loving to oneself so that he can have similar reflection on others. It believes that self-hatred leads to an apocalypse of sorts. Thus, the goal is indeed reaching nearer to self-actualization, a journey of self-discovery which opens doors to a magical world that is filled with mercy, gentleness, and compassion. Once this door is unlocked, an individual cannot restrain the spilling over of its contents into other realms. In outline, man can give only what he has. This philosophy believes that some sort of Zoibortikism exists in the human experience, which itself is the realm within which truth can best be demonstrated, perceived, and realized. As many individuals are hungry for a deeper meaning in life, they have begun to reject the notion that their inner beliefs must stem from external sources or drop down from heaven. I have observed that man has begun to realize that the notion that only a religious man is pious and principled is slowly becoming invalid. Instead, he has come to realize that the presence of divinity in the sunset moment, or deep inside a forest, sometimes often in a selfless act of generosity or goodness, are all inner experiences. Thus, these forms of secular thoughts tend to be elastic, environmental, emotional, and individualistic. This has resulted in slowly bringing a higher level of reverence for all human beings, regardless of their faith, religious affiliation, or absence of that. Irrespective of their geopolitical situations, talent, ethnicity, and this concept ultimately strives for universal brotherhood and world peace. Beta, imagine a man in the middle of a scorching desert with only half a pail of water and a dying thirsty stranger lying on the ground in the throes of death, looking wistfully at him, knowing that no one will ever learn of his actions. How he acts under such circumstances will never his true self. This self is neither dictated nor dependent on sin, reward, hell or heaven, papa or punaina, karmaful or afterlife, nor on sacred teachings or any particular philosophy or all the philosophies in this world, but purely on his inner conscience. Life is a journey no one quite understands. The beauty heightens as the more one travels, and the mystery deepens, and at every step he perceives life differently. At the end, man realizes that peace of mind is everything, anything that makes one feel good, whether that is chanting at a religious site, performing an act of pure goodness, achieving success in his chosen field, gazing at the vast welkin endlessly, or a combination of all these. To summarize, as per Zoibortikism, there is nothing as cosmic truth or absolute truth. Nothing as ultimate nirvana or moksha. There is conscience, yes, but nothing as soul or immorality of it. Nothing as past life, next life, karmafal, or purasartha. It is what it is. There is no rhythm, no reason or justice in it. It's just is. This is the conclusion. Beta, Earth is the only planet in the universe to harbor life, as far I know. Every living being that ever was has lived its life in this planet. It is a tiny little lonely speck in a vast all-encompassing cosmic mystery. A mere mote of dust suspended in a pale beam of light, making every human posturing, momentary triumph, and their imagined self-importance nothing but a delusion. As the placid moon radiates its gentle lambent glow softly upon Mother Earth, I stand in soothing solitude and watch the wind whispering through the trees as if chasing the past. I perceive the silence in the forest, the echo of crepitating leaves, the serenity of the mountains, and the calmness of the ocean. I am time, and during the course of my journey, I have seen the world transform and evolve. I have witnessed the callousness of youthhood fading into mellow dotage, when finally, man succumbs to time and fades into oblivion. Often I have also realized that men will come, men will go, and only the best will stay, leaving their footprints in the sands of time. I realize, as what the surrealist painter Salvador Dali's melting watches manifest, that there remains only one truth. That is, at the end, everything decays, everything changes. Beta, I am intrigued by the murmur of the flowing river deep inside me, the river that carries with it the agony, the hope, the trials and tribulations, the aspirations and dreams of a past civilization, and still surges ahead to meet the newness of yet another morrow. As the night gets darker, a breath of fresh zephyr caresses me, and suddenly a solo feather attempts to float high into the atmosphere with poised optimism. At that moment of truth, I whisper, whatever has happened, whatever will happen, will happen, will happen. But what is present is that we cherish and plant seed for tomorrow, while I go on forever. For I am time, and this is my story. I am haunted by river.